the sort of dark satanic mills of northern Britain. It is like a mill. It is red brick, and it's about 8 stories high, and it's built of Victorian red brick, and it's big, it's huge, and they have an annual intake of MBAs, about 900 MBA students a year. That's the stream size of Wharton, and it's a factory. People pay vast amounts of money to go through, come out the end, Wharton MBA, and it's a horrible system. That is the system. And Jerry Wynn, sitting there in his office, said, I know, we can disrupt this, we can destroy this. You know, we are going to re-innovate the whole thing. And his plan was to shut down the dark satanic mill of the Wharton Business School. That was his plan. He said, I want to do something called the EMBA, and this is back in sort of 99. So we got invited, along with General Motors, Bristol Myers Squibb, and a few other people, came down to Wharton, where Jerry Wynn explained his plan. And his plan was basically, very interesting actually, I could explain it to you briefly if you like. What his idea was, if you look at the United States market, different from Europe, essentially what you have is you have undergraduates. You know, sort of, they're lesser than ours. They're not, I mean, ours are much better trained in Europe. I mean, the high school over here. And these people are like, they're not full graduates in European terms, because in US degree, first degree is less complicated. So people do that. Then what they do is they typically go and work somewhere. So they work with the first employer. So this is taking maybe 3 years. They then go and do 10 years working for an employer, let's say, something like that. If they're good, so they're really good, so you're now working for somebody like Boeing, you've done really well, you're now, I don't know, maybe early 30s, and you think, I could be the next chief executive. Now, in order to do that, you're probably going to need an MBA, realistically. That would be what you would need. So at this point, what tends to happen is the person then goes to do an MBA. It's very expensive. It could cost you $100,000, something like that. And the whole logic, you can look at the tables in the US, is going to be the number of times salary increase that's going to come. So for Wharton, that might be 3.5. So say if you came in earning $50,000 a year, you're going to come out the other end earning $150,000. That is the proposition. Simple as that. And how do they achieve that? Well, they sort of achieve it by feeding you into the companies. So it's a very sophisticated system. However, the thing which is interesting, if you imagine this is Boeing here as an example. So I'm Boeing, I recruited this bright engineer, I spent time training them and everything else. Now they've gone for an MBA, they're not coming back to Boeing, are they? Because they've got to come back at 3 times the salary. So you can imagine the HR problem that would create. So where do they go? Well, they go to Lockheed Martin, don't they, or something like that. So Jerry Wynn quite correctly noticed this was a bit silly, to say the least, politely. And the additional problem was, when I used to recruit MBA students for IBM, when I was in my strategy role, I had a whole team of them. The problem was that you get these people come back in, so the guys in here now are earning $150,000 a year, and they think they run the company. But the problem is they actually know relatively nothing, really nothing. In the big scheme of things, the Wharton MBA is like, it's okay, but it's not going to revolutionise the world. So the problem then is what actually happens is people carry on their careers. So you now come on another 10 years on, say. So you're now looking at people 40-ish. So by the time you reach 40 plus, in a major corporation, you are now at the point where somebody might have said, you are an executive, you can make serious decisions about something that matters now. Because up to then, you're probably just a technically very clever person climbing up the tree. So now you could be in charge of the strategy, or you could be in charge of a major product line, or you're running a country. So you're important now. And that's true for the guys here as well, of course. The problem is, these type of people do not suddenly go off and do 2-year MBA courses. There's no way that could happen. But actually, they're the key people. I mean, down here, this is all, it's highly disruptive to the employer here. And actually, you just end up with a whole load of people with a properly finished education, rather than quite green. But they haven't got the business experience. So basically, what Jerry had realised is up here, you've got a group of people who don't want to do MBAs, don't want to come to Wharton. This group of people is the target for your EMBA group. And actually, by the way, it's not single company either. Because when you're talking about training those sort of executives, and I've done training courses like this at IBM, what you're probably going to do is get people from a number of different companies, then you're going to run a program where you join together a whole group of, obviously you don't join Microsoft and IBM in the same group, but you join people like, the treasury, you join aerospace manufacturers, you join retailers, and part of the value of the programme is you're going to learn from each other. So the retailers will educate the technology guys, so there's education of that sort. This doesn't need a big red brick building, so Jerry Wynn's model was all electronic, then quarterly we'll all go somewhere very nice for a week and have an intensive workshop in California somewhere, no expense spared. And this was the model, basically. And what he wanted to know from us is what do we think about introducing this idea to our sort of top, well they're not people that really run the company, they're the next level below, strategic business unit owners, those sort of people really think. I mean hopefully startups in there as well. But so that was the EMBA model, right, just described. That's very much here. Yeah, if you've gone into Jerry Wynn and say, I can tell you 10 other business schools doing that right now, you've gone to sleep. Okay? So when you're thinking about this phase, ROI is not important at this point, but if you like, world domination and major change is absolutely the whole point of doing it. Another good example would be Charles Schwab. When they revolutionised internet trading, they built it all themselves, every single bit of it.